I've been meaning to make this video for a little while now, and that's why I'm here today, to finally get back on board something that I started about a year ago. Last year, I started a podcast called Hi Struggling, I'm Dad, and it was all to do with personal development, growing as a parent, and just becoming the best person that you can try and be. Warts and all, all the problems that we carry in our lives, all the issues that we bring to the table, all the shortcomings that we have, how to weed our own garden a bit more to make sure that we don't leave problems for our children or those that are close to us to clean up later in life, or just have to feel like they're responsible for, because ultimately I think accountability is massive, and we all need to be more accountable as people in order to fully maximize our growth and potential, because we can all do better and we can all grow, and we're not perfect, and that's fine, but it's all right to want to do your absolute best to reach your fullest potential in whatever part of your life you can. And that's something I'm passionate about for me, that's something I'm passionate about for my family, and that's something I'm passionate about for people in general. And that's why I started the podcast. And that's what I aim to do. I wanted to do at least one episode a week and put it out there and grow it from there, and just kind of learn to be okay with being a bit uncomfortable and to grow in that particular realm of things. And that's what I tried to do. Last year, there was a ton of tech issues with what we had with our laptop and some recording gear that I had, and there was massive hiccups. Episodes would take ages, or there'd be problems along the way, but still trying to do our best to do that and manage with all the other responsibilities we have. We have 5 children now, and we homeschool. We are trying to set up businesses and bring in income in more conventional ways and unconventional ways and things like that, but also try and make time for ourselves as parents and as people and in our own creative pursuits. So this was something that fell in line with that. But last year, there was a couple of events that happened where I decided to kind of go on hiatus, and I thought that the best time to do that would be, one, when it's the actual things are going on, when I need it the most, and also two, before the channel is something that I guess too many people are aware of, and I think that's the goal, is not too many people, but more eyes on it, more people to help or to support as much as possible. So it was still very new. I think I'd done 4 or 5 episodes, nothing crazy, and a big event happened last year, and that was my father, Serge, passed away. So around mid last year, Dad passed away. He had had cancer for about 18 months to 2 years, and it had been a struggle for a while. We actually had been living with them for about 13 months. We had had renovations going on in our house, and Mum and Dad kindly let us live with them for about 13 months while these renos took a really long time, and a lot longer than expected. And about 2 days before, or 2 days after we had moved in, my dad had figured out why he was having certain pain and difficulty swallowing food and things like that. And it turns out he had a growth that was impeding him, and he needed to go on treatment. Starting with that, and then it grew into something else, and it was more likened to pancreatic cancer. And I think throughout that time, we lived with them for 13 months, and I think that was a godsend, the fact that we were able to be there and support them as much as possible. Obviously, it was a busier house. We had 4 kids at the time, and it was a busy house with 6 extra people living in their unit. There was 4 people in our bedroom. It was myself and my wife, and then our 2 boys, Eli and Oscar, and There was people on the floor. We were co-sleeping with Eli, because as we were still quite young. And yeah, we made it work for 13 months. Dad went through treatment. He went through chemo. He went through radiation. He went through pockets where he was doing really well. He went through pockets where he saw some great improvement. He reacted well to certain treatments, and that was great. And I think there were certain times where he didn't react very well, and things accumulated over time. And then after we had moved out, about 6 months to 7 months after we had moved out, Dad had passed away. We still got to see Dad. We don't live very far from each other. We just weren't in each other's pockets as much as we were when we were living together. And his decline was quite fast. He wasn't well, but then within a month, he wasn't really responding very well to anything. He wasn't really himself. He wasn't able to communicate very well. And then he ended up in palliative care and ended up passing away. So during that time, I think grief is complex anyway. Grief is really complex. There's no linear track of how it should look. There's elements, just stages of grief, and they will occur differently in different people, and different elements will ring true to some and not to others. And then there are elements where I think that are very unexpected, and there was a few unexpected things. There was a few unexpected things for me regarding the grief, and I found that difficult to deal with as well, because again, I'm wanting to be transparent with my kids, to let them know that grieving is fine, and also not wanting to focus on solely the negative things that are hurting us, the pain, but that is a part of it, and communicating that to the kids as I go through it, as they go through it. Eli was commonly saying, he's like, "Oh, I really didn't want Nonna to go to heaven." And I think that's a pretty normal thing. He was 3 at the time. And yeah, they're dealing with the same thing I was and am. And there are good days and there are bad days. There are days that are hard. There are days that are easier. There are days that are pleasant. There are days that I have anger pop up, or sadness, and the grief, the conventional grief, So I think with that and the complexities of my grief with my dad, I didn't know how I could continue in the same capacity I was doing with the podcast. I would have liked to, and I could have probably pushed through. But I think a lesson that I've been learning probably the last year is, yes, you can push through, but is forcing yourself to do certain things going to be beneficial for you short-term or long-term, or those around you? And I think some things are really worthwhile, be it exercising, getting good sleep, things that care for you. And this probably would have done okay with that. I think this actually probably would have helped me in some capacity. But I also think that I would have preferred, and did prefer, to do that in a different way before I just aired it to other people. And I didn't want to do that, especially when it was really raw for me and I was trying to make sense of it for myself. And I thought it was a good time to take a bit of time off with that, as the next event was approaching too. So first of all, to cover that, with my dad, I love my dad. There's elements of dad that I really love and appreciate and respected and looked up to. And then there was elements that I really struggled with, and I know we butted heads on. And I know that for me, grieving dad has been a mixed bag of dealing with anger, hurt, frustration. Um, and I don't think, again, that's probably not super unique. I think everyone's got elements to their parents, to their family, to their friends that they love, that grind them, that have hurt them, that have supported them and love and nurtured them. And obviously this depends on the situation and the parent, but I think some of those things I really needed to process more, and I didn't really know how to do that. And I think that that was the first time in my life where I was feeling myself avoid without even trying. Like, I was avoidant of dealing with certain bits of the grief with dad, and I wasn't trying to. I was trying to be either upset or things like that, where I would get all the way up to being upset, and then there was this blockage that I was really struggling with, and I didn't know how to get through that. I didn't know why there was this. I wasn't even trying to stop myself. It wasn't because I couldn't cry about him, or I couldn't do this, or I couldn't do it. I could sometimes, but there was something in me that was holding back, or that was hurt, and I couldn't figure it out. And that took a while to process. And I'm fine to, and I would like to share a bit more of this complexity of grief in an episode later on, because in case it helps someone else, because I know for me, I had to try and figure out what it was. I didn't know what it was. I tried really hard to get through it, and it really took some time to make sense of things. So I took my time to do it, but that's something that I'd like to cover later. I'm just giving, this whole video is about keeping you in the loop, because again, I want to be transparent. I want to be transparent as to why I went on hiatus for as long as I was, and I wanted to give some context, and you can get further context down the track. But the key of it is that my father passed. I was dealing with the grief. I didn't want to force myself to further shelve grief or pain or anything else that I had to deal with, because I was just trying to show up. And yes, I'm showing up for my family. I'm not laying in bed all day. I'm not doing any of that sort of stuff. But I'm upset when I need to be upset. I'm that sort of thing. They're the same. They were the same as well when they needed to be. And especially with the kids, letting them know that it's okay to be sad. And it doesn't mean that you're not at peace with where he is now, but you can still be sad that he's not here. You can still be sad about that stuff. That makes total sense. So teaching them about grief as well was really powerful. But that's the biggest event that I decided to just pause. That was dad. The second biggest event was about 2 months after that. We were expecting our fifth child, what turned out to be a baby girl that we named Francesca. So in September, Francesca was born, and that was a really beautiful thing. That was a really beautiful, special thing, that Francesca is now here and she's doing amazing. She's smiling and happy and just such a blessing. And to see the kids rally around her and just love her so much and support her, and just be such loving brothers and sisters, it's so special. So that's really lovely. And so it was a very conflicting, confusing time for myself. I know I can speak for myself on this, where I was still grieving my dad, and that was complex as it was. And that's such a big thing, you know your whole life with that parent person. I've never lost a parent before. I've never lost an immediate family member, and that was really difficult. And I know some people struggle with that forever, and I was still trying to find my way through that one. And then Francesca was coming along, and then you've got to be, I want to be, there you go, ownership. I want to be strong for my family, for my wife, for my children. And I want to be soft for my family, wife and children as well. Strong, soft, supportive, and as good a parent and husband as I can be, and a good a man as I can be. So I wanted to make sure that I was those things for Francesca and for Hannah as she went through childbirth and everything else. So we had Francesca. Everything went amazing. Lots of blessings through there as well, and ones that I'm happy to share another time. But those two events on such conflicting ends of spectrum or events, just such conflicting events, losing someone important to you and special and an immediate family member, and then gaining a new immediate family member it's pretty, I don't even know how to describe it, but it's such a conflict. Conflicting, it's not a conflict, it's such a conflicting thing to feel because you've got loss and then you've got this incredible gain, this incredible gift, and then a very big loss. And it's, how do you make sense of these things? So it was difficult, and it's hard to put into words exactly what was going on at that time because you're so grateful, and then you've got this counter feeling that's coming up that's equally as valid. So it was an odd one, and it's less weird now, which is nice, but it still can come up. And like there's the sad element too, where you know that Dad would have really loved to have met Francesca. And that's, and again, none of this is all the way through. The grief is still there. That thought, it's a sad thought, Just take a minute, one sec. So yeah, it is a sad thought. It is a sad thought to just think, oh man, he was 2 months away from meeting Francesca. And that's a shame. And she's so lovely. So it would be such a special thing. And he always loved babies and all that sort of stuff. So that would have been nice. But it is how it is. It happened the way it happened. And that's neither good nor bad. There's just elements that are a little bit sad, but there's a lot of good that have come out of this. So those two reasons right there, trying to manage and cope through grief on one end, and then an adjustment for the whole family of quite a lot of significance, it was a big thing to do. And I knew for me that I could have pushed through. I could have pushed through, and I could have just done it. And I could have just shown up and done my best and on these episodes and everything, and maybe that would have been fine. And I think that would have helped me in some ways, and I think it would have stunted me in others. So I decided not to do that, to give myself time to go through all these things, to go through the bad and accept and grow the good. And that's what we've done. And it's been on my heart very much so to start this again, because this is important to me. This is important for me to try. It's important for me to be uncomfortable and to grow in things that, yeah, they're not easy. They don't come naturally to me. They're things that I want to be better at. There's things that I want to help people in. And I think this has the potential to help the most amount of people the best way I can. That's the potential of this medium, this potential of a podcast, the potential of putting yourself out there on platforms where, it's not something that I ever intended to do, but it's something I would like to try. And I think the potential could be great. And if it could help other people, then that would be really special to me. And hopefully it would help people a lot. That would be amazing. That would be really great. So that's the goal with this. And that's something that's been on my heart a lot to try again and to explain myself as well, because I didn't want to drop off the face of the earth. And I thought the only thing I could really do was an Instagram post. But it's such a tiny channel. It's such a tiny podcast. It's all this sort of stuff where who knows who'll even see it or read it. So I thought, while it's in its infancy, why not take the time now, and before I commit to trying to grow it as its own channel, as its own business, as its own way to communicate with you guys, mode of communication with everyone. So that's what I ended up deciding. And I know that there was, at the time, I even saw some people that I respect in the space that are, really established. And they're like, oh, I lost this family member and I didn't take a single day off. And I was like, cool, man. Like, that's cool. For me, I don't see how I could have done that. I don't think I would have gotten the most out of it, because I don't think I was taking the best care of myself outside of having that break. I think I was putting the family and other things above me. And so I needed to have that time in order to just get back to square one a little bit and to show up as best as I could for the people around me. And if I didn't do that, maybe it just would have taken me longer. But here we are. And the other thing that was a pain, and I didn't know how to communicate this because I had so many tech issues. Episodes were scrapped. There were things that I'd edited and they disappeared. It's a mystery. It's one of life's mysteries. I've got the Bermuda Triangle of desks here, and episodes are, dropping thick and fast. I don't know what's going on, but that's what it was. And I didn't know how to communicate that other than what I already had. And I just decided, you know what, I'm going to pause. I'm going to see what I can fix here, see what I can sort out so this problem doesn't continue to happen, and get in a position where I can actually show up at the best as I possibly can for all of you and for myself, and go from there. So that's what I wanted to communicate. I wanted to be transparent. I wanted to keep you all in the loop, where I've been, what I've been doing, what are the key things that led me to take a hiatus, to choose that over pushing through, and why I'm back now and what my intentions are. So my intentions are now to do what I originally wanted to do, which is put out regular episodes, was to put out short form videos, content, things like that, was to also make a community where like-minded people are committed to growing as dads, as parents, as people, and to be able to communicate the best way I know how to help others as best as I can to grow as people in the way that they want to do that, and to show up and make a community of that, of people that are willing to do the work, to be accountable, but also to support one another, because a powerful community is massive. A powerful community can be just such a life-changing thing. And I want to be a part of that, and I want to be a part of growing that. So that's all things that I'm here for, that I'm doing, and that I'm working towards. So yeah, that's me. So thanks very much for listening. If you listened, that's amazing. That's where I've been. That's what I've been doing. This is what I want to do. So I'm going to leave it there for today. And yeah, take care. Thanks so much for listening.